Prayer by Mr. Thibodeau and the pledge by Mr. Falk.
Dear Lord, we thank you this evening for the opportunity to be present. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for your mercy. And as we stand and sit tonight and deliberate on the business of Terrebonne, we pray and hope that it is of value to the people of Terrebonne. These and other blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Becky, roll call, please.
Mr. Ross Burgard,
Here.
Miss Rachel Ellender, Mr. Kyle Falk,
Here.
Mr. Robbie Liner,
Here.
Mr. Jan Rogers, Mr. Travion Smith, Mr. Barry Soudier,
Here.
Mr. Wayne Thibodeau.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Becky. Conflict disclosure. A reminder to the commissioners that at any time tonight, a conflict of interest exists, arises, or is recognized as any issue tonight during this meeting, he or she should immediately disclose it and to recuse himself or herself from participating in the debate, discussion, and voting on this matter. Does any member have anything to disclose at this time? Okay. We're going to D, approval of the minutes, Zoning and Land Use Commission of the regular meeting of September 21st.
I'll move the approval of those minutes.
I have a motion by Mr. Rogers, a second by Mr. Bogard. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Communication.
No communication, sir.
Thank you. Going to F, public hearing, rezoning from R1 single-family residential to R3 multi-family residential's Lot 1, Block 2, Barrowtown, 202 East Street. Doris Moore Jules is the applicant. Yes. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Just state your name and address, please.
My name is Doris Moore Jules, and I live at 2658 Daniel Turner Trailer Court, Houma, Louisiana, 70363.
Okay. Anything like you would like to add to what we're doing?
No, sir.
Okay. If you just want to step to the side, we're going to do a public hearing for you. Anybody would like to come and speak on this matter? Going once, public. Going twice, public. 3 times, public.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Falk and a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a requested rezone from R1 single-family residential to R3 multifamily residential for the purpose of placing a mobile home on the property. The areas of Barrowtown and Mechanicville subdivisions are mainly R1, but there are several lots that are zoned R2 and R3, and many of these have mobile homes on them. Additionally, several of the R1 lots have mobile homes that are legal non-conforming. In recent years, property owners have come to the Zoning and Land Use Commission to request rezoning to R3 in order to place a mobile home in the Mechanicville and Barrowtown areas. In December 2020, a proposed rezone for numerous lots in Mechanicville from R1 to R2 was presented to the Zoning and Land Use Commission, but was recommended for denial after public comment. It was decided at that time to continue to review rezone requests on a case-by-case basis. The zoning ordinance states that in order to rezone property, one of the following conditions must apply: error, change in conditions, increase in need for sites for business or industry, or subdivision of land. The applicant and staff both agree that the application fits under item 2, change in conditions due to the increasing need for affordable housing in the area. However, the subject property does not abut an existing R3 zoning district, nor does it meet the minimum size requirement of 5 acres to request a rezone to R3. All public notice requirements have been met, and staff received no calls regarding the request. Staff recommends denial of the rezone request from R1 to R3 due to that it does not meet the minimum size requirement.
Okay. Any comments from the commissioners before somebody puts a motion? Mr. Thibodeau?
Yes, sir. I see in reading these, we tried to get a rezone to R2 in way back when, but I
Correct.
guess there wasn't any momentum for that because the people in the community.
Yeah, there were a lot of folks who showed up at that public hearing and they did not support. The majority of those who spoke were not supportive of that request. And so basically, we backed off with it.
Yeah, forgive me for not remembering, but if it were R2, it would require the 5 acres also?
I think R2 is 2 acres.
Yeah, well, and that's not gonna happen on East Street.
Right.
Any other comments? Anybody else?
Mr.
waiting to comment?
Bogard?
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
The monitor, oh, there, that one though. Yeah, so I see it's on a corner lot. Is it the limitation of the acreage, is that to allow for adequate space to be able to, say, get to the rear because of the second structure being in the rear? I see it's a corner lot, and I'm wondering if it would improve situation if there was a second entry from the other street. In that sense, that you would have means of entry and then also escape if it was allowed in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like if you look up above on the other side of Bryant in the top left of the screen, I mean, those lots are a lot deeper, but that's not the reason for the acreage requirement. That's straight out of the ordinances whenever there's a requested for a standalone zone district to create a new zone district. You see, this lot abuts all R1. That whole block, at least what we're seeing on the screen now, that whole block is all R1. Is there R3 near? Sure. Right across the street on the other side of East Street, that whole stretch is R3. And you can see in the top left corner, there's a lot on Bryant that's also R3.
Yeah.
And if this lot was abutting any of those, then the minimum size requirement would be exempt, because at that point all you're doing is expanding an existing district. Whereas here it's going to be its own all isolated R3. So
Yep.
it's a 5 acre minimum size requirement. And like Mr. Wayne was saying earlier, I mean, 5 acres, I mean, you're talking several blocks
Yeah.
in that area. And it's I believe the intent behind that minimum size requirement is to prevent spot zoning. But you look at this, and that lot up there in the top left corner is, I think it's cut off, but I see C2 poking in there at the very top. So perhaps, because it abuts C2, then it also would be exempt. But so maybe that's how that particular lot became R3.
See, and I know how it reads, but you have R3 across the street. And I know it says it has to be touching, but it's not technically another property in between this one and an R3 property. It's literally just a road.
Right,
That's what makes it more difficult.
right.
Because if the street wasn't there, it would technically be touching R3, which would make this a lot easier.
But sometimes the road is the difference.
You are
Right.
right.
You've got commercial on one side of the road and you got
Yeah, that-
multifamily residential on the other side. There's transition zones, and so that's oftentimes the transition.
Understandable.
And I know you guys know this, but for the applicant as well, I mean, tonight, the decision by the Zoning and Land Use Commission is a recommendation. So this matter will still go before the council regardless of what recommendation comes out of the Zoning and Land Use Commission. So I just want to make sure that the applicant's aware of that.
Okay, Mr. Thibodeau?
yeah. What's the lot size there, ma'am? Do you know?
I don't know, no, sir.
Let's see if it's. No, it's not on the plat, but
It looks
the
60 by.
yeah, they're usually. I mean, I hate to speculate, but I mean, most of the time they're around 60 to 65 wide, and about 110.
Or those other lots, the other R1s, are they homes, single-family homes on them? I didn't visit, so.
Most of them on that block appear to be single family residential homes, not mobile homes.
Okay.
But you know, you I mean, you all know you don't have to go very far, and you'll either find a R3 lot with a mobile home on it, or you'll find a mobile home on an R1 lot that's grandfathered in.
I would ask, ma'am, I would ask you to do this, speak with your council person, maybe, and ask him to bring the matter of rezoning from R1 to R2.
I did, he was just here talking to me.
So what did he say?
He said it was okay by him, it was left to you. all.
Yeah, well, obviously, we really rely on staff to recommend, and sometimes we deviate. But if he's serious about it, ask him to put the matter on the council agenda, perhaps.
Correct.
It's gonna
Oh,
automatically
It'll
go-
be on their
on our
agenda.
agenda?
It's gonna automatically go on the council agenda.
Okay, it's going on.
Whether you all
Okay, whether
recommend
we say yes
denial,
or no.
approval, or whatever, it's still gonna go to
Okay.
council.
So did you understand that just now? So
Yes,
this
I did.
denial or approval, it goes to the Terrebonne Parish Council. So talk to your council person, they can overturn it. If we
Okay,
vote
I
no.
just talked to him, he was waiting for the stuff
right,
to
that's
come
all I
to
have.
his
Thank you, sir.
desk.
Yes, sir. All
So
right,
y'all have your next meeting in October to who? Is it October to what?
November, yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Right.
November, what?
No, it's gonna go to the council. I had given you the timeline. I can get you another copy.
No, I have it at home, but I know it's coming up.
So after this meeting, let's say that whatever recommendation they have, so going forward, it'll go to the council. It'll be on the first meeting in the November. It's in the file. The first meeting in November.
Who is your council person, ma'am?
Mr. Brian.
On the towards the back.
That would be, the 6th would be committee, and 8th would be council.
November 8th.
That would be the first council.
That agenda.
And let me say this, I don't mean to put him on the hot spot, but if he believed in it, he should have stayed with you. And sometimes the representative come and they speak to the planning commission, so I'm just sharing that FYI, all right?
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
He came to make sure I
Okay,
was-
here it is. So, the
Yeah,
item
he
will be
wants reelection.
introduced at the council
He might
meeting
lose.
on November
'Cause I hear this
13th,
fellow Ralph Singleton.
but then they
got
hold
some
it
momentum
over
over
for
there.
30 days. They have to call for a public hearing in 30 days' time. So the actual public hearing before the council would be December 20th.
December 20th.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the next meeting? The meeting
No,
that I
there'll
need to
be
be?
there'll be a council meeting in November on November
So I
13th.
don't need to appear?
I would go to that council meeting on 13th just to make sure.
In December.
No,
We
November.
also
November.
suggest that
Oh,
they
I'm
go
sorry.
to the, committee meeting, just in case they
That's
don't-
the one, committee. Yeah, so
Okay,
the
and-
committee meeting on November 13th, and then they'll call for a public hearing, and that public hearing date will be December 20th. You definitely want to be there for that date.
Okay,
And it's all in this room.
okay.
So November 13th and December 20th. But you
Okay.
have this, you said you had this at home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And we,
If not, I know how to call Becky.
Right.
and yes, ma'am, we want to help. Our hands are kind of tied on what the rules and regulations are, but that next board could do a little more than what we can here. And we'll see how the vote goes, but I just want to tell you that there's things that we want to do, but our hands are tied due to the restrictions that we agree to go by.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
we need
Make a motion to go with staff recommendation.
Second?
have a motion by Mr. Bogart, a second by Mr. Thibodeau. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. All right,
For denial.
denial.
For staff, because does not meet minimum size requirement. I just want to state that for the record, because it's
Correct.
a denial.
Okay. G, new business, home occupation, proposed barber shop, 139 Grand Street. Ms. Jackson is the applicant. Someone? Yes, ma'am. State your name and address, please.
Vidal Jackson, 139 Grand Street.
Okay, and can you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
I just purchased the home
Okay,
and I have a room on the other side of the house
okay.
that I would like to. Dang, y'all just took those pictures.
Why'd you just buy that car?
I did.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I did. The living room. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the picture. Yeah, right there. I would like to turn that room into a barber shop.
Okay, all right, if you want to step to the side for a minute, I'm gonna do a public hearing on this matter. Anybody would like to speak on the public on this matter? Going once public, 2 times public, 3 times public. I have a motion by Mr. Rogers and a second by Mrs. Sude. All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You can come
This
back
is a
up here.
home occupation request for approval for a barbershop. Parish zoning defines personal services as establishments or places of business primarily engaged in the provision of frequently or recurrently needed services of a personal nature. Home occupation allows for personal service businesses to be conducted in residential districts provided that A, the activity is clearly subordinate to the primary use as a residence, B, that it's carried on solely within the main dwelling without altering character or appearance, and C, it's located within a residential district. The applicant shall not employ other persons in performing the service. As required in an R1 district, the occupation does not utilize more than 25% of the floor area of the dwelling, which is also used as the primary residence. There is sufficient off-street parking, and appointment times shall be and need to be staggered. The applicant may place an exterior wall sign no larger than 1 square foot in area if she so desires. A site visit was performed and adjacent property owners have been notified. Staff received 2 calls in opposition of the request due to parking in the street and in front of their properties. So should our office, if this is approved, and should our office receive complaints from neighbors regarding parking or any other violation of the home occupation, then that home occupation approval may be revoked and the applicant would then be found to be in violation of the zoning ordinances. So if this is approved, just remember, you gotta make sure that your clients park in your driveway or in front of your home, okay. Obviously they can't block the street, right?
Right.
But better to just have them off street in your driveway, so you stagger the appointments so they can park, in that front part. And it's only people who live in the home
Is-
can be employed in that. You can't have somebody from the outside. So, staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you, administration. Anybody, any comments, commissioners, before we take a motion? Any comments? All right, looking for a motion. Have a motion by Mrs. Sudier, a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank
Staff report.
No staff report for zoning, sir.
Commissioner comments? Public comments? Need a motion to adjourn. Have a motion by Mr. Falk and a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye.
Right?
All opposed,
It's-
nay. So motion passes.
Yes. So it can't be that, like, it can't be, I know, it can't be retail, for example. Like if you're gonna be making something and people are just coming in and buying, you can't do that. But like tax, people who have home based businesses, massage therapy is one,
I want you to know I gave up saying
hair styling.
Me too. I had tickets too. I gave them up too.
I'm trying to get out early.
I had tickets to go. I had to give them away.
Gave up your TV?
Like a
No.
You don't need it. I'll go get that
accountant.
Hey,
It's not too late. You can catch halftime. You can catch halftime.
Catch halftime, he said. We catch
And
halftime.
you're providing a
Catch that
personal
first
service.
quarter.
But man of the people. No.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Becky, you good?
but you can't have customers come to you.
Kickoff.
Yeah.
Kickoff. Kickoff.
You go board, go to one.
Is there,
I don't know. Yes. Once again, I'd like to thank y'all for coming. We're going to convene as the Regional Planning Commission now. We'll do the pledge by Mr. Thibodeau once again, and this time, Mr. Rogers will take care of the pledge.
Dear Lord, again, we thank you for your grace. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for this assembly. And we pray that what we do here is of value to our citizens. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Miss Becky, roll call, please.
Mr. Beauregard,
Here.
Miss Ellender, Mr. Falk,
Here.
Mr. Liner,
Here.
Mr. Rogers,
Here.
Mr. Smith, Mr. Soudier, Mr. Thibodeau.
Present?
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Becky. Conflict disclosure. A reminder to the commissioners that at any time tonight, a conflict of interest exists, arises, or is recognized as to any issue during this meeting, he or she should immediately disclose it and is to recuse himself or herself participating in debate, discussion, and voting on this matter. Does any member have anything disclosed at this time? Okay. Approval of the minutes, the Houma Terrebonne Regional Planning Commission minutes for a regular meeting of September 21st.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from September 21st, 2023. Second?
I have a motion by Mr. Falk, a second by Mr. Thibodeau. All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. So motion passes. E,
I move to approve the remittance of payment for the October 19th, 2023 invoices and the treasury report of September 2023.
I have a motion by Mr. Rogers and a second by Mr. Falk. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Communications.
Yes, sir. I have one. This pertains to item G7, dated October 17th, 2023. Dear Becky, we're hereby requesting that you remove Evangeline Oaks subdivision from the October 19th, 2023 agenda of the Houma Terrebonne Regional Planning Commission meeting. At this time, the development is not fully complete, and we request that this development be placed on the November 16th, 2023 meeting agenda. At this time, the developer is diligently working with his contractor to have all punch list items addressed and having most, if not all, of the subdivision re-inspected and approved by the next meeting. Thank you in advance for your cooperation and assistance in this matter. If you should have any questions or require any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact our office. Sincerely, Jacob Waits.
Do we need a motion on that? Or we
Yes,
good?
sir.
Okay, need a
Per
motion.
developer's request.
I'd like to make a motion to accept it as per the developer's request
I'll
to
second.
remove G7.
I have a motion by Mr. Bogard and a second by Mr. Thibodeau. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Now I'm looking for a motion to take old business 1 through 6 off the table.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Falk and a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Going to G2. 1. I'm sorry, 1. To reconsider a variance request from the high. Yes, sir. You can come on up.
Why are we pulling, old business 5 off?
It's 7.
7.
I thought you said 1 through 6.
So we took it off the,
Table to discuss and to consider.
right.
You gotta remove the old business from the table to discuss.
Then it's gonna be new.
It's not being removed off the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, number 1, to reconsider a variance request from the fire hydrant distance required regarding application, Rodney Mathern. Someone, yes, ma'am, name and address?
Beth Arsenault, 635 School Street. Mr. Roddy Mathern is having a little difficulty getting this fire hydrant installed on Burglar Rose Highway. There's a 4-inch water line, and you can install a fire hydrant on a 4-inch water line. So we're requesting a variance so that he can do what he needs to do with his property.
Okay. Administration.
Yeah, so last month, the recommendation included several conditions. Municipal address for adjacent tract B be depicted on the plat. The second one was a submittal of a letter from the relevant fire district certifying that the dry hydrant meets the International Building Code and National Fire Code standards. And thirdly, including a signature block for the Lafourche Parish Planning Director, or provide a letter of no objection from the same to indicate they have no objection to the proposed subdivision. So what's happened since our last meeting is the Berg Fire Chief will not issue the letter certifying that the dry hydrant meets those standards. He's just not able to certify that. So, secondly, I confirmed this with the Lafourche Parish Planning Director today, because there's no way to get a hydrant placed there. They're not even going to sign off. We were having them on there really because there's still some
Sure.
discussion about where that parish line is, and so our thinking there was, well, if we at least have a low no or have their signature on it, if in the future, if that line falls permanently and it turns out that this subdivision is totally in Lafourche, at least the planning commission at Lafourche or the planning director had some involvement and is aware of it, right? But in speaking with the director, he was telling me that they can't even support this because they don't have that fire hydrant or that fire protection. They just can't meet that requirement. So he can't give his signature, even in the form of a letter of no objection. He's not going to be able to do that.
Got it.
So in essence, these conditions, the applicant can never meet 2 or 3.
Got it.
So they came back and said, okay, well, we would just like to amend their request and are asking that basically waive the the fire hydrant requirement altogether. Now, I think this might have been 2015, 2016, but off of Water Plant Road, there was a minor subdivision like this with a little bit different issue in the sense that they could not get a hydrant placed because the line was a 30-inch main, and Waterworks would not allow them to tap that size of a water main. So the applicant had requested a variance from the hydrant requirement altogether, and they were given that variance. Now, it's a little bit different situation, but here, I mean, this location along the Burglar Rose Highway is 1,000+ feet from a water line that's sufficient size where they would have to bring a water line an awfully long way along Burglar Rose Highway, which would be very costly. And this is a minor subdivision for 2 existing structures. So you have a commercial structure. He's basically trying to put the commercial on one lot and the residential is home on another. But it's not like they're doing a major subdivision or going to
Right.
build a subdivision or anything like that. Now, will there ever be a day when, either Lafourche or Terrebonne or somebody brings a water line in that area? Perhaps, but right now it's just a 4-inch line. So that's what they're asking for at this point, is just a variance from the fire hydrant requirement altogether.
Okay, thank you, administration.
and
Mr.
without-
Bogard, wait, hold on, sorry. Mr. Bogard?
Yeah, so I've seen in the past, and I don't know if it falls into some of this as an option, but what about if the land is large enough, if he would have his own retainage pond, something for a water pickup, or something like
Well,
that?
that's what they were trying to do.
Oh,
So tract B, which is the adjacent parcel to where the home is, has a pond on it now. And that's what they were. There you go. Sorry, y'all. So, okay, on the right-hand side if you follow the highway on the right-hand side of the screen, you can go back to the aerial photo. It's that the aerial's fine. You see, just to the right of the purple line, you see where there's no trees and it's kind of a brighter
Yes.
green patch.
yes.
That's the pond. It's probably got duckweed on the top of it or something like
Says
that.
470, right?
What's that?
470.
No, he's
No, no, no.
talking far right.
518.
Far right.
Far right.
518.
Far right, okay.
So that's the pond. But, access to it, and talking with the Berg fire chief, I mean, there's, their concern is, access. I mean, getting to that, like when you imagine a draft site that we've seen, they put it in a servitude, they put down rocks and limestone, and it's compacted so it can support the weight of a fire truck and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I'm not saying that if he did that, then the fire chief would be okay with it. That's for the fire chief to decide. But that was part of the conversation that I had with them. Some of their
So
concerns.
that option has been looked into, and
That's what they were originally going for.
okay.
We call it a dry hydrant.
Oh,
That's the wording in the subdivision regulations for that.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Thibodeau.
Yeah, where's the nearest 8-inch line? 2,000 feet away, 3,000 feet away? Or nowhere to be found?
Probably,
Do you happen to know? I don't know.
probably a mile.
About a mile away, okay.
Yeah.
It's, if you're familiar with the Burglar Rose Highway, you're talking before you get to the big curve.
Okay,
That's where the.
I'm a little bit familiar with
I don't
that.
think it's an 8-inch, I think it's a 6-inch.
all right. That's all the question I had, sir, thank you.
Mr. Rogers.
I'm very familiar with that area, and the thing is, a draft site where, like you said, you put in rock, you put in whatever, where you don't bog a fire truck down.
Mhm.
You can't sink a fire truck. How much water do they have in that pond right now? They may not have any water. You may be looking at the bottom of that pond right there in an aerial photo because it's been so dry. So is there gonna be water when it's gonna be needed? And I know we talked about he even talked about a tank.
Right.
But if you put a vacuum on a tank and next thing you know, if it's not vented properly, you collapsed it. And who's gonna maintain it? And I see where the fire chief's coming from because how's he gonna get insurance? I don't know. Fire trucks only hold so much water. So that's my stand on that.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Thibodeau.
I just want to make sure I understand, so they're asking us to approve a variance and there is no fire hydrant, nowhere?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify, all they're doing is a lot line, basically.
Right. Let me go to the.
It doesn't change the safety of
So
the
right now,
current
tracks F and G, it's one, 110 acre or whatever site. And so they're putting a line down, splitting it from one large lot to two lots. With track G is where the home is. If you see it at the top of the screen on track G a little bit to the right, and then go to the left to track F, you can see there's two structures that are kind of close to each other. Those are the commercial buildings. So that's the home, and those are the commercial buildings.
Yep.
Well, my question was alluding to the fact that you didn't realize there was
Mr. Bogart.
So my question was more so in the sense I didn't realize there was a pond nearby, but it's not on their property.
He owns that property also.
Oh, he owns that property
Yeah,
also.
it's his property, but it's not part of the subdivision.
I see.
It's just an adjacent parcel that he owns.
Okay.
So yeah, he's got control of it.
So I guess we can't really ask the fire chief this question, but if that pond was modified or brought up to a standard that they would approve, would that be something they would consider?
It's a great question.
I mean,
Uh,
that would be a question for them.
Well, if there's no more comments, we will need a motion. One way. So administration, to be clear, where do you stand on this?
Well, I mean, both of these structures are existing. I mean, yes, he's in my mind, he's merely doing a subdivision to put the lots or put the structures on different lots. And when I think back to what happened in Water Plant Road, it's kind of the reverse situation. The line's too small, but I agreed with the Planning Commission's decision at that time, and I would support a variance request approval at this time in this situation.
Okay. All right. No more comments. We need a motion. A motion by Mr. Soudier to do what?
To approve the variance, subdivision following conditions for the fire.
Yep.
No fire hydrant. Yeah, no fire hydrant.
Now, I'm sorry, I should have also clarified that my from last month's conditions, number 1 still remains, that we have the municipal address.
Okay.
I'll second it.
We got a clear motion on that?
Can y'all clarify?
Mr. Soudier, can you clarify that for us, please, sir?
Motion to accept. Motion to accept
yes, municipal address for adjacent tract B, depicted on the plat, dry hydrant.
Not dry hydrant. But without
Oh,
the.
we can't do the, no, we're not gonna have the.
Well, really, actually, now that I'm looking at it a little closer, it doesn't. We don't really need it anymore because that's not going to be a dry hydrant anyway. So yeah, I wouldn't even worry about number one now that I'm thinking about it.
No, seems like there's no conditions.
No conditions, yeah.
Just,
So it's a motion to approve the variance and motion to approve the subdivision. Variance for no hydrant.
For staff recommendation.
For staff recommendation.
I have a motion by Mr. Sudier,
Good, Becky?
a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Alright, here's mine.
Just two, okay, so 3-2.
What's 3-2, right?
Motion is approved.
2, 3, 1, 2.
Okay, what's 3?
3-2.
Motion approved. Thank you.
Welcome, thank you.
Okay, we're still in old business. We're going to number 2.
This thing is slow.
Subdivision Lot A property belonging to Mr. Leon Cox.
I'm just gonna make myself comfortable here for a minute.
Go ahead.
My name is Beth with 635 School Street. Mr. Leon Cox would like to divide the property. It was tabled from last month's meeting because we were lacking the drainage letter. So we have since had that approved, and I can't see. So yeah, I think that was the only condition from last month's when we would tabled it.
Okay, I'll call it to the public. Going once on this matter, public. Going twice on this matter, public. 3 times, public. A motion to close by Mr. Rogers, a second by Mr. Bogard. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passed. Administration.
Yes, staff would recommend approval. They were able to obtain the approval letter from Department of Health, and they have the approval letter from Terrebonne Parish Engineering.
Okay. A comment? If no comments, I need a motion.
I move to approve as per staff recommendations.
I have a motion by Mr. Rogers and a second by Mr. Falk. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Number 3 on old business, revised track B, property belonging to Terrebonne Parish Recreation District 1. Yes, ma'am.
Beth Arsenault, 635 School Street. We're trying to get approved the water park that they're building on Bayou Gardens Boulevard Extension. And we had some utility issues with the water company, I believe, at the last meeting. And the water company has approved the final approval on that. They're just waiting from to hear from the design company for the final record drawings so that they can give the letter for the final approval on that.
Okay. Administration.
Yeah, the only punch list item on the final inspection report from engineering is the final approval from Waterworks. So we approve on the condition that they provide the final approval from Waterworks.
Yes, sir. Mr. Falk.
Okay, well, hearing that, I'll make a motion that we approve as per staff's recommendation, since that last tidbit has been taken care of.
I have a motion by Mr. Falk.
Second.
A second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Number 4, lots A1A through A1C, a redivision of property belonging to Mr. Emmett Robichaud. Yes, ma'am.
Beth Arsenault, 635 School Street. Mr. Emmett Robichaud would like to create some tracts to give to his children, and we're just going to carve out a tract for his son and his daughter. We have all of the available utility letters, and we have a good Board of Health letter, and the fire hydrant has been installed. So we're just asking for approval.
Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna open up to public. Going once, public on this matter. Going twice public on this matter. 3 times public on this matter.
Motion to close?
Have a motion by Mr. Thibodeau, a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion's closed. Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff would recommend approval. They submitted their drainage plans and Terrebonne Parish Engineering reviewed and approved them, and they also installed the fire hydrant.
Commissioners, comment or a motion?
I move to approve as per staff recommendation.
I have a motion by Mr. Rogers and a second by Mr. Falk. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Thank you. Number 5, subdivision of tracks 2 and 3 into track 4, revised track 2 and revised track 3. Number 5.
Prosper Toops the third, 631 South Hollywood Road. Lifelong Saints fan.
We with you. we understand where you coming from.
Representing Joe Bernier, we got tabled last month. We got our entrance to the subdivision variance approved.
Okay.
So now we're just seeking approval of the actual subdivision itself. The 3 lots all meet size requirements. They meet the entrance requirements. They meet the fire hydrant requirements. Chris had a couple concerns on a letter he sent us last month. The municipal addresses have been added to the plat. Utility letters have been received. I think we may be waiting on Board of Health. Drainage approval was, drainage impact report was sent to engineering. It's my understanding it was approved as long as Mr. Bernier digs some swale ditches along the property lines heading to the south. Fire hydrant distances are depicted on the plat. So we asked for approval contingent on, Mr. Bernier digging the swell ditches and getting the final approval from engineering, and also getting the Board of Health letter in.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Administration.
Staff would recommend approval on the condition of submittal of all utility letters and upon the developer installing the swales as per the engineering approval letter, and followed up by a field inspection by Terrebonne Parish Engineering to confirm once the swales are dug.
All right. Thank you, administration. I need a comment or a motion.
A motion that we approve as per staff recommendation. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Falk and a second by Mr. Rogers. Mr. Bogard.
Yeah, where are the swales actually gonna be draining to?
They're going to be draining along the side property lines towards Winfield. There's a drain right there, so they're going to be going towards that drain. That drain's going to go into Winfield and South Street.
Into that lower corner?
Yes.
So that's, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Once again, I have a motion by Mr. Falk and a second by Mr. Rogers per administration. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Who dat?
Number 6, a re-subdivision survey of parcels 14868, 14384, 42968, and 12890. Also 15290 into track 1A through 5A and track 1B through 5B. Name and address.
Lee Schaffer, 2678 Highway 311, Schriever.
Okay.
I think this matter was tabled at the last meeting. Since then, we've been able to get the approval for the drainage study from engineering. We added a few things to the plat, which included the fire hydrants and the addresses. It's been approved, or sent, all the addresses have been sent to 911. We put up a sign notifying the public on October the 9th. And we made a few small changes to the plat itself.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Administration?
Staff recommends approval.
All right. Any comments from the commissioners first?
They did.
No comments? Let's go to a motion.
I move to approve as per staff recommendations.
I have a motion by Mr. Rogers and a second by Mr. Falk. All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. So motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to H1, new business. Survey of lots D and E, a redivision of the southernmost portions of lots 4 and 5, Block 2 of Honduras, town site addition to City of Houma.
Beth Arsenault, 635 School Street. What we have here is two lots, and they're wanting to keep them as two lots, but they want to take the Lot E and combine with the apartment that's on the side of Liberty Street. And the reason they want to do that is they want to provide off-street parking for the fourplex that's on Lot E2. I'm sorry, Lot E, Block 2. So we're requesting a variance for the Lot D because the setback's going to be 7 feet in the rear instead of the normal 20.
Okay. All right, we'll open it to the public.
Gentlemen, I'm representing Neil Wyatt. Is this the property?
microphone.
State your name and address first.
My name is Joseph Wyatt. I currently reside at 952 Wood Street. Is this the subject of this particular? Because my son isn't here, and he wanted me to clue him in on the how do you say this? He's supposed to be listening, but I don't see him. Neil, are you there? Hello.
Is this Wood Street? I don't think this is off of Wood, right?
Well, their address is on Wood Street. So in that, what you're looking at on the screen, see where it says in the top right, garage 952 advanced home construction.
Yeah, that's
where that's Neil's property.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm representing Neil.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead, sir.
Well, I don't know what he wants to object to. He was here, and he was on. I called him here on WhatsApp, and I've been broadcasting this meeting to him. And
You want to step to the side and let someone else? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. State your name and address, please.
Diane Trotter,
Uh-huh.
703 Liberty Street.
Okay.
You know where I live. Could she just explain that again a little bit better? Because I kind of didn't get that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous because this is like my first time doing this for Mr. Kent.
That's okay, me too.
Okay, all right, so.
You'll be here all night.
I'll try to help too, if you like.
Yeah.
So what it is,
She needs to see this.
I know what's going on here too. So the individuals bought 2 houses and an apartment. It's all on one piece of property. All they're trying to do is divide it to where it's not on one piece of property. The houses stand alone and the apartment stands alone. Instead of 3, you got 3 different buildings on one piece of property. They're trying to divide it up.
Right. One of my questions is Chris kind of said something on Monday night that it was commercial property. They're not trying to get it zoned commercial, are they?
No.
That was just a slip, right?
No.
You misspoke.
Well, when I'm reference commercial is because the fourplex unit, when you have a multifamily unit for insurance purposes, they view that as a commercial use, and that was a problem for them with the homeowner's insurance for the home at 917 right on the corner. So by basically putting it on its own separate legal lot of record, it then keeps the commercial, and that word commercial is only in the sense of it's a fourplex, and that's how their insurance views it as commercial.
Right.
But the zoning is single family residential, and that's not going to change. That fourplex is grandfathered in. They're not going to be adding on to it. They're making renovations and repairs, cosmetic mostly, to it.
They're
And
adding
they
parking too. I
and they
think.
want to add a driveway between. Well, let me go to that photo. Okay, so this. Well, let me go to this. Let's see if there's another one.
I
This
actually
clicker's really slow.
Well, I brought some photos if that'll help you.
Come on. Well, to the left of the screen, where that clothesline is, that metal clothesline thing. Okay, that's where they want to put the new driveway.
Mhm.
Okay, because right now you've got that carport. That's the fourplex.
And that picture has the photo.
Can you advance it? I can't. It won't. There you go. Okay. So where that dump trailer is, that's where they'd like to place the new driveway. Now the carport for that fourplex has two separate driveways. And so what they want to do is add a third driveway. And at the Board of Adjustment, they had to get a variance from, I mean, this is in the staff report, but they had to get a variance from the 7-foot rear yard setback requirement, because when they, now I want to go back to the plat, Becky. I don't know, maybe we need a new battery in this thing or something, but one more. There. Okay, so lot D, you see there's 17.3 feet from the rear property line that they're creating on this new lot D to where that carport and driveways are. 17.3 feet. So the Board of Adjustment said, okay, fine, we'll approve this, your 7-foot rear yard setback for the residents, because normally it'd have to be 25, thanks. On the condition, though, that they leave a 4-foot wide strip, landscape strip between the existing driveway on that carport and where they proposed to put the new one, because they really wanted to maintain that historical character, and that's kind of the style, common style that you see with those driveways, that they have little landscaping in between them and stuff. So Board of Adjustment on Monday approved that variant with that condition.
Got it. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I was here Monday and I was the one that I guess had that complaint about it, not to have it look like an apartment parking with the continuation of the 2-space parking, and
Okay.
then it continue all the way over to have some of that green space there. My other thing is, and I don't know if this is the committee to talk to this about, or maybe if it's a council, that because it's such a high volume neighborhood and it's at an intersection, you have the master plan, the vision for 2030. Are y'all all aware of that? I buy into it. I want our neighborhood to look like that. Our problem is we are inundated with rental property. My little square block, not included this property or other across the street from me, there are 9 rental properties on my little block, and there are only 5 homeowners, one of which is recently fixing to go on sale. So I'm outnumbered. So with the vision, I need y'all to enforce the vision. It's got to look good. This property, it's not a blighted property. It's just exposed, naked, and unattractive, the fourplex. And Ross said that they're planning to do some landscaping. They can do some very attractive, but it's not just put it up there, it's maintaining it. Renters do not water plants. They do not buy into this city beautiful stuff. They're trying to keep a roof over their head to keep from being evicted. So I just need y'all to enforce the codes, ordinances, laws, whatever it is. I mean, I can only do so much.
Yeah, we're kind of, we can't do a whole lot with that either.
What? Then who can? I
Well,
mean, then who
I mean,
can?
you could go to nuisance abatement if your grass is too tall, I mean, there's
Well,
plenty of
that-
divisions that you can call in the parish.
there are property maintenance code ordinances that they have to maintain to a certain level. And yes, if it can either be a property maintenance code violation, or it can, if it goes really far down that path, it could end up with a condemnation. And we've got one not far from here around the corner, on next week's condemnation hearing list. But there are no landscape requirements in this area, but they are required to have that landscape um, strip. And in talking with the new property owners, I mean their intention is to fix up those. They're working on exterior renovations, and then they're going to move into the interiors. Um, but there's no ordinance that would prohibit rental properties, at least nothing on the books at this time. Now there's ordinances about things like bed and breakfast, or boarding houses and things like that, but short-term rental or rental period, there's no ordinances that would prohibit that particular use.
So none for an Airbnb.
Correct.
They also own the Airbnb that's at where's that at? Yeah, 628's their Airbnb. They also own that one too. We just have no control over who it's rented to. Just like across the street from me, that a real estate agent bought that property, and now it is a halfway rehab house. And so I can't imagine, if I was trying to sell my house, that that's in my neighborhood. We have no control over what goes on. So, I mean, there's got to be some kind of rules and regulations to stop that kind of thing.
Well, the Airbnb is definitely better than the other one you mentioned. The Airbnb, you have to keep that nice and neat, and it has to be better than a long-term rental, to be honest. That's kind of really, if you want that, I mean, picking neighbors, that's definitely a better than a long-term rental for sure.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
there's higher standards. Okay,
But
you have something else?
I mean, what she's referring to, I mean, those types of regulations or ordinances, I mean, that's something that, ultimately the council would have to pass. So I would suggest strongly, I mean, you're going to have a new council person in a couple of months, Kevin Champagne. Jessica Domingue is council person in this area now. So, you might want to reach out to both Jessica and Kevin and express those concerns, because, I mean, the council, they're the ones who, write and make and approve those types of laws and ordinances. They're the legislative branch of our local government. So please, by all means, contact them, and then they can get with administration, and we can start looking at crafting those kinds of things. But right now, there's nothing specific to that on the books.
Well, one of our neighbors did reach out to Jessica, and Jessica told her that they were not aware of that was taking place there. So we did, but we'll follow up. We're going to get the new councilman in January, so y'all might want to, let him know, warn him, send him a sympathy card.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I do buy into this city beautiful and everything. and
Absolutely.
So
We want
hopefully,
that too.
yeah. So
Okay.
we're gonna make it happen.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Mr. Bogart, I'm gonna call on you. And sir, did you want to come back up and say something? I know you didn't really say anything the first time. Did your son or anybody?
My son is
He still
not
no.
back online. I don't know how to do this though.
Okay. Well, we'll.
Maybe here. Neil, are you there? You want to say something? Can you help me with Neil is here.
Chris, while you do that, I'm gonna go ahead and call on Mr. Bogart at that time, just for
Okay.
time purposes. Mr.
Is the
Bogart?
volume up?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify.
All right,
that,
hang on, Neil. Go ahead.
Yeah, you good.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that the space in the
hang on, Neil.
driveway, the green space, is just green space at this point. it isn't recommended that they have to have a certain or particular type of landscape in that space. It's just
Mm.
being called out as green space, right?
Right.
Correct.
Just want to clarify that.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I've got Neil on.
Mr.
Okay,
Neil?
Neil, we got you. Give your name and address if you don't mind for the record, and I'm holding the phone up next to the mic.
Hello, Neil Wyeth, 952 Wood Street,
Yes,
Houma,
sir.
Louisiana.
Yes, sir.
I've got no objection to this. I'm not quite sure why my dad put me up here. I think it's a great idea that these folks are trying to, improve the neighborhood and do something with it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's fine. All right. Good to hear.
He asked me to come.
Mr. Thibodeau?
Yeah, I just, one question about the driveway that is gonna be, we're gonna take up some green space and put concrete, right?
Yes.
Correct.
And that's what, about 8 foot wide driveway?
Well, it looks like it's 17 feet between the back property line and where the existing carport is. So take 4 feet off of that.
So we're gonna, that's
That's
13.
13 feet.
Yeah, okay. All right. Is there any drainage issues in the neighborhood?
I don't, not that I'm aware
Not that
of.
you're aware of? Do you know?
Liberty Street drains pretty good.
Good, okay. So we're not laying more concrete and posing a
Yeah,
problem with that.
non-porous surface.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's
All
not.
right. All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Thibodeau. All right, ma'am, you have one more thing?
Just one more thing.
Go
just to
ahead.
clarify. Is it 4 feet on behind the house and then four? Oh. Diane Trotter, 703 Liberty Street.
Go ahead.
Is it 4 feet on both sides of this driveway?
Okay, well, there's 7 feet between the property line where this carport is and where the new driveway is gonna be on this house on the corner. And this is the carport here. So it would be 4 feet from this line. So you'd have green space here and green space here.
So you have 4 feet on this side and you have 6.5, 7.
7.1
Okay.
looks like right there.
Okay, that just want to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I need no more comments. I need some. Well, I'm sorry, administration. What do you say in this matter?
Well, the variance, we didn't really get to even discuss that. The variance in this case, though, we talked about a variance, but that was the Board of Adjustment rear yard setback variance, which they were approved for. The variance before you all is Lot D is 3,270 square feet. Minimum lot size requirement 6,000. Now there have been several instances that about a block, 2 blocks away at the corner of Liberty and Verrett. The planning commission maybe earlier this year or end of 2022 had approved a similar variance for minimum size requirement. These are all existing structures. And I think we understand the reason for their proposed subdivision. So staff recommends approval of the variance and approval of the subdivision.
Thank you, administration. Need a motion?
Motion we approve it as per staff.
Have a motion by Mr. Falk, a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. H2, track K1, K2, and K3, a redivision of track K belonging to Warren Charles Carlos.
Beth Arsenault, 635 School Street. This property is located at 7740 Shrimpers Row, just above Falgout Canal Road. Mr. Carlos would like to create tracks to sell the property. There's a boat slip on one of the tracks. He would like to retain that on his. We have all of the utility letters and a good letter from the Board of Health. Fire protection is available on all lots, and we are seeking approval.
Thank you so much. We're going to open it up to the public. Going once, public on this matter. Twice, public on this matter. 3 times public. I have a motion to close by Mr. Bogard and a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. Motion is closed. Administration.
Yes, sir. The lot configuration and layout meet parish subdivision regulation standards. All the utility letters have been submitted. Drainage calcs aren't required. Staff recommends approval on the condition that all municipal addresses are depicted on the plat.
Thank you, administration. Any comments? Need a motion.
Move to approve as per staff recommendation.
I have a motion by Mr. Rogers and a second by Mr. Sudier. All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. So motion passes. We are going to 3A. H3, I'm sorry, H3. Thank you, Mr. Bogard. Lot 1A and 1B being a portion of property belonging to Montague Lions Club.
This is located on Cross Street in Montague, just behind Montague Elementary. Montague Lions Club would like to create a separate tract for the Terrebonne Parish Council on Aging building that's on the survey. We have all of the utility letters. We have the fire protection there, and we have a good letter from the Board of Health, and we're seeking for approval.
Thank you very much. We're going to open this one up to the public. Going once, public on this matter. 2 times public on this matter. 3 times public. I have a motion by Mr. Falk and a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a minor subdivision process D to create 2 lots for commercial use. Both the lots are already developed, so the subdivision places each structure on its own lot. The configuration and layout meet parish subdivision regulation standards. No drainage calcs are required, and all utility letters have been submitted. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you, administration. I need a comment or a motion.
Move to approve as per staff recommendation.
I have a motion by Mr. Rogers and a second by Mr. Falk. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. We are going to H4. Tracks A, B, and C, a redivision of property belonging to Mr. Al J. Rodri.
Yes. Beth Arsenault, 635 School Street. This property is located about 2 miles from Highway 55 on Highway 665. Our client would like to create tracks for family members. We have all of the utility letters from the various companies. Drainage has been completed, and the fire hydrant has been installed on track C. We do have a problem with the Board of Health on 2 of the tracks, so we would ask for a condition approval pending the issues are resolved.
Yes, ma'am. Once again, we'll open up to the public on this matter. Going once, public. 2 times, public. 3 times, public. I have a motion by Mr. Rogers and a second by Mr. Falk. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is minor subdivision process D to create 3 lots for residential use. The lot configuration and layout meet parish subdivision regulation standard. All utility letters have been submitted except for Department of Health, as well as an approval letter from Terrebonne Parish Engineering. Staff received 1 call for more information. Staff recommends approval on the conditions that all municipal addresses are depicted on the plat and the Department of Health approval letter be submitted.
Thank you, administration. Any comments? Need a motion? I have a motion by Mr. Bogard, a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. H5, lots A, B, C, A, redivision of tracks A, B, C, D, A, property belonging to Ironman Properties of America.
Beth Arsenault, 635 School Street. We have property on the corner of Marcel Lane and Highway 24, and he's just trying to create some tracks in this area. We do have a variance that we're requesting because of the fire hydrant, so it's within that 10%. So we have all of the utility letters, and we have a good Board of Health letter, and we're just seeking approval on this one.
Thank you. Once again, we'll open up to the public on this matter. Yes, ma'am. Come state your name and address, please.
My name's Katie Brown, 38 Parkway Circle. If you notice in the picture, the lot to the top of the lot you're talking about, there's a business and a house. They have requested to have their property separated. She's 84, he's 88. They want them to get a fire hydrant. So I object to this people having a variance when they're so close to them and they're required to have a fire hydrant. Jack, it's 7060 Main Street and 7064 Main Street.
Okay. Mr. Bogart.
I don't have anything. I'm gonna wait and speak after.
Okay. Yes, sir. All right. So you're objecting. Okay. Anyone else from the public on this? Once, twice, three times a lady. I have a motion by Mr. Falk. Second by Mr. Bogart. All approved, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes to close to public only. Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a minor subdivision process D to create 3 lots for residential use, including a variance from the fire hydrant distance requirement. The applicant recently received council approval to rezone the property to R3M to accommodate a proposed townhome development. The lot configuration and layout meet parish subdivision standards except for the hydrant distance. All utility letters have been submitted, including an approval letter from Terrebonne Parish Engineering. Proposed track C is 262 feet from the hydrant at the corner of Main Street and Marcel Lane, which is still within the 10% allowance policy set forth by the Houma Terrebonne Regional Planning Commission. There is another hydrant approximately 300 feet from track C along Marcel Lane. So staff recommends approval of the variance and approval of the subdivision on the condition that all municipal addresses are depicted on the plat. Now, just to respond to the statement that was made earlier, that I can't remember if the development is residential or commercial, but she is correct that they were denied because they didn't meet the fire hydrant distance requirement. But unfortunately, in their case, their distance was more than the 10% allowance. Now, that's a policy that the Planning Commission had adopted a couple of years back, that if somebody does request a variance, and as long as it's within that 10%, because the National Fire Code does provide such an allowance for that. So that's where that comes from.
I have a question for you, Chris. So, well, you might be able to help me as well. Are they plan on developing this area into more homes?
Yes. They're gonna build townhomes on the property.
On the one on Marcel Lane.
Correct.
Yeah,
We approved that a few months ago.
correct. And the site plan that was submitted for the rezone showed the proposed townhomes. It's the tract A, the one all the way to the right, the one closest to Maine is left out of it. They don't have townhomes depicted on it, but they're looking to put townhomes on B, C, and D.
Okay, so just having that variance and that much more of a load, like, it's one thing if it's one house, but if you're building all of these houses, then, there's I guess there's no difference there.
Well, we're going into building code world potentially now with this discussion. So,
Gotcha.
you all, are kind of governed by the subdivision regulations.
Sure.
Now, when they do come in and apply for those townhomes, these are townhomes. So that might trigger a different set of fire code standards. I don't know if they fall into commercial or not. But the state fire marshal or the Bayou Cane could require that they. I'm not saying they will.
Right. It's just a possibility.
But it's a possibility. I don't have my chief building official or plans examiner here who would probably know the answers to that. But it's possible that they might be required to add additional fire protection because of the building codes.
Okay, and ma'am, I know you want to say something. Let me give the commissioners a time to speak. Mr. Bogart?
Yes, on the satellite imagery, it shows the property line cutting through what looks to be residents of the 112. Is that just a glitch or something?
Yeah, so there's little. Looked at 113 just below that on the other side of Marcel Lane. The property line's cutting through the eave of the house. That's just how our GIS maps are. The maps are flat and the earth is round.
Well,
So,
I just
you can't. when they
the
try to
surveyor-
superimpose the line work on top of an aerial photo, when you have the insertion point, I'm gonna geek out on you. But if you insert it at 0.000 on the XYZ plane, that 0 insertion point, it's spot on. But the further away you get from the insertion point, the more
Inaccurate.
off the lines get.
Got it.
So that's why whenever you go to our GIS site, you have to click through that big disclaimer box, and in that fine print is language to that effect, like this is not survey accurate, is just
Yeah.
merely to provide general information. So.
Okay, I just
But
wanted
the
to make
plat
sure.
that is in front of you is done by a professional land
Yes.
developer.
Yeah.
So that
just-
drawing
Yes.
Okay.
is spot
Alright.
on.
I just wanted to make sure we wasn't approving a line through
No.
conflict.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Bogard. Mr. Rogers.
Okay, the fire hydrant that's in place right now, is that on the corner of Main and Marcel?
Maine and Marcel.
Okay, and then there's one, you said, how far down the street?
It's
As you
okay.
truck.
Yeah, so I mean it's
It
three.
might be on the
Go back
left-hand
to
side
the
of the
plat,
street.
Becky. Okay,
No, but how
so from
far
the
back?
corner of I think I said lot C in my staff report, but actually it's D. So from the corner of the applicant's property, if you go towards the back of Marcel Lane, about 300 feet down on the same side is another hydrant.
Okay,
And that's it. I mean, Marcel Lane doesn't have but the one at the very corner and one halfway down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Seems
the,
like
the street is how deep? 600 feet?
Yeah, I'd say 6 or well more than that. It's probably about
But again,
1,500
you're talking
feet.
about how long's that street been there before the fire hydrant requirements?
You know, I don't know the answer to that.
well, too, if they put the townhouses in and go all the way to the back of the property, that's gonna push them out of the 10%, wouldn't it?
No.
On the last house?
No, from the front
No,
of the street to the hydrant.
Okay.
It's
It's
just
300
that
feet. So,
Okay.
And if you look at to the northern portion where you see 70, 60,
Oh.
that's where the other property is.
no, I was right. It's track C because track D is within 250 foot of the hydrant that's halfway down Marcel Lane. So I'm
Got it.
sorry, my staff report, what I wrote earlier was correct. So it's track C that's
so right in the
that's so track D is good because it's within 250 foot of the hydrant that's off the screen, off the further down Marcel.
Right.
B and A are good because the hydrant on the corner at Main and Marcel, they're within 250.
Got
It's
it.
just C. Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, you have something else you'd
Okay,
like to state?
Katie Brown, 38 Parkway Circle.
Yes, ma'am.
The 10% variance, they're only off 15 feet. So if they can't allow that, then I recommend they split the price of a fire hydrant.
Okay. Thank
What? He's making faces, I don't know.
you.
I'm not following that.
Mr. Rogers.
Okay, go back to that other drawing. So you're talking about 7064, correct?
Yes, the house and the business.
But but the hydrant is on the street. I mean, you can't cut across that 7072 to get to 7064. If you're gonna put a fire hydrant somewhere, you'd have to put it on the main line
No, I
on Main
get,
Street, right?
yeah, no, I get that.
So I don't understand how you can split the cost of a hydrant.
Because you're allowing them, I'm not saying just charge this person half.
Right.
I'm saying whoever you're allowing this variance for not having a fire hydrant shares the price with these people that you're
but-
not allowing a
But
variance.
the variance is just because it's 262 feet,
Yeah, they're
That's
only 15 feet.
correct? Well,
over.
12 feet.
No, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking
them.
about this lady. It's 15 feet difference. They're 12 feet.
But the difference is they're in the 10% and they're
And you're not, yeah.
Right. That's
I mean,
that's
so
the rule.
So the
Well,
hydrant,
you're
so
trying.
from the corner, so from that hydrant on the corner of Marcel and Main to 7064 is
290 feet.
290
is
feet.
one. Proposed track one.
So that's
is
40
290.
feet. So that's 40 feet.
Yeah,
Is what
they
you're telling
said
me.
it was 275, but that is not enough.
Yeah.
The requirement.
I mean,
Hey, I think you got a good effort, but it is a little different because
Yeah.
to
Over
make them pay
84.
when they actually in the 10% and,
Yeah,
you
they're
know,
not
to
having to
cut
pay
costs,
anything.
they're not really gonna be, I don't think they'll be up for that.
Yeah.
But it was a great try though.
No, she'd have to come back before the.
Right. And I don't know if we would even actually be able to do anything with that regardless. Making customers split costs and
No.
I don't think we could
That
get
ain't
into
gonna
all of that kind of stuff anyway.
I make a motion to accept as per staff.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bogart, a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Yes, ma'am. Okay, we are going to H6. A division of property belonging to Barrow Joseph Billiard, track A&E.
Yes,
Name and address, please.
sure. Elisa Champagne, 3697 West Main Street, Gray, Louisiana. I always feel like this microphone's like. in
You
my
could,
face.
you could bring
Can
it
you
down a
put-
little bit.
Like,
You could bring it down for
like
you.
that?
There you
Okay,
go.
thank you, thank you. It's like- My client owns a tract of land at 5882 Grand Caillou Road, on Highway 57, which is Grand Caillou Road. He would like to create 5 tracts of record. He is asking for a variance from the fire hydrant requirement for tract C. All others meet the required distance, but tract C is at 260 feet, which falls within the 10% rule. And we have all the utility letters, however, Chris hasn't gotten them yet, and the health department letter. We just ask for your approval.
Yes, ma'am. Public hearing on this matter. Going once, public, twice, public, 3 times public. I have a motion by Mr. Rogers and a second by Mr. Falk. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a minor subdivision, process D, to create 5 lots for residential use, including a variance from the fire hydrant distance requirement. The lot configuration and layout meet parish subdivision regulation standards, except that tract C, once again, that tract C, is 260 foot from the hydrant, which is within the 10% allowed tolerance as set forth by the Planning Commission policy. Terrebonne Parish Engineering has issued an approval letter. Staff received 1 call for more information. Staff recommends approval of the variance request, also approval of the subdivision on the following conditions. I know Elisa had mentioned that they have the utility letters, but submittal of all utility letters, updating the FEMA firm information to reflect September 7th, 2023 flood maps, municipal addresses depicted on the plat, and method of sewage disposal depicted on the plat.
Thank you, administration. Looking for a comment or a motion?
A motion that we approve as per staff recommendations, as per conditions.
I have a motion by Mr. Falk, a second by Mr. Rogers. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes.
Thank you.
Staff report.
Yes, sir. So at our last meeting, we continued the, you continued the public hearing on the Main Street Corridor Master Plan. So since that time, we've had some public, we have had 2 public meetings, one on September 28th, one on October 3rd, I believe it was, where we were discussing mainly this community development block grant disaster recovery programs. But at those meetings, I mentioned this plan as well as our long-term recovery plan. We've had these plans posted on our tpcg.org/recovery website. We have a online survey, and we're getting public comments about all of it through that survey. And then I have another public meeting scheduled for Monday, October 30th from 5:30 to 7 at the Dumas Auditorium. And I'm looking to schedule another meeting sometime in early November in the Gibson area to discuss not only the CDBG-DR, but this plan, our long-term recovery plan, and so forth. So we're trying to get as much public exposure for these plans. And, my intention would be once the Main Street plan is adopted by the planning commission, that we would then bring it before the council for their adoption as well. The Houma Restoration District, which is part of this is kind of a joint effort between Terrebonne Parish and the Restoration District. And it involves stakeholders like you all, like the Downtown Development Corporation, the Houma Historic Commission, the Downtown Business Association, and others. So I don't know if you all have looked through this further, or if you have other questions or comments, or these are still technically drafts, so that's what we're here talking about. So if there's things that you'd like to see added or explained or whatever, that's what we're doing.
Yes, sir. Mr. Thibodeau.
Yeah, thank you for scheduling the additional public participation meeting. I think that's important. Will there be any waivers asked with regard to compliance issues that you know of, or has the consultant asked for any waivers on any of the requirements of the CBDG DR?
Not to my knowledge. We're still getting project ideas, but I don't recall hearing any discussion internally about
Any waivers?
any waiver
Good.
requirements.
Good.
Now, one thing that happened a few days ago that's kind of interesting, we had the CDBG DR money, which is a little over $40 million. And just to make it easy, it's basically split half for hometown revitalization, half for resilient infrastructure communities. Now they're saying that they're going to just pool it all together. They're going to combine the hometown revitalization and it doesn't really change things on our project list, honestly, because I think at this point in time, and if anything, it probably gives us a little more flexibility. So I think it's a good thing that they're doing that. But some of our projects, like the community sewer system, for example, is more of the resilient, infrastructure community type project than it is a hometown revitalization. That's more of an economic development pot. But that gives us a little more flexibility with that money.
Yeah, and I get that. I know we have this 21 and some change committed to the, I guess mostly to the central business district, for lack of a better word, as it relates to the city of Houma, and then that other 16 and some change to other things. But we had a lot of housing damage, and I don't know how much emphasis is going to be placed on trying to help folks get these things back in order, and even some of the landlords and them being able to qualify for some of this money. So I'm just concerned that we make sure the compliance issue, obviously the low to moderate emphasis that's required there, Section 3 requirements to make sure some folks get a chance to get some of this money. And I hadn't heard much talk about the Section 3 requirement in this money, but it is there, and it is the responsibility of the grant recipient to make sure we comply with those things. Now, who will do the monitoring? The consultant?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I hope we have a good turnout at Dumas and wherever that next one is.
Yeah, I'd like to
gonna
do it
be
in the
scheduled.
Gibson area, somewhere in that,
Yeah.
that area of the
Yeah.
parish.
Do we have the flyers produced already for those?
No, I had given just some of the basic information out, like the details, but we should have the flyer out ready to go Monday, Tuesday.
Okay, please send it to me, because
Oh, yeah.
I'll do all I can to make sure I circulate it in the churches and the
Sure.
communities. Hopefully we can fill the place up.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Thibodeau. Any other comments on this, commissioners? All right, do we make a motion? Are we looking for a motion on this? Is
I
that
mean-
discussion or possible action?
Well, the action, I would like to, see the planning commission adopt the Main Street master plan.
Okay.
So that would require a motion with a second.
Yes, sir.
Motion that we adopt.
I would second that, but I would ask the commissioners, since we are gonna have these two additional, public participation, events, you know, if you don't mind, let's wait until the last one is done, and I don't expect the plan to change.
Continue the
but it may-
public hearing.
Well, I'll change my motion to continue to our next meeting.
Yeah, okay, I'll second
For-
that too.
for adoption.
I'll withdraw my motion. All right.
Yeah, how about you? Withdrawn?
Yeah, I'll
Withdrawn?
withdraw the second, that means it's dead, right?
Yeah.
So my motion is to table it till the next meeting.
Continue the public
Continue
hearing.
it, I'm sorry, continue to public hearing.
All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Falk and a second by Mr. Bogard. All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Administrative approval.
I make a motion that we approve the administrative approvals, 1 through 6.
I have a motion by Mr. Rogers, second by Mr. Bogard. Mr. Thibodeau?
No, it should have been off, I'm done.
Okay. A motion by Mr. Rogers, a second by Mr. Bogard. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. So motion passes. Committee report?
We did not meet.
Okay. Commissioner
Nothing to
comments?
report.
Mr. Bogard?
Yes, I'd like to bring to the surface our letter that was given to us by Mr. Edward Babin. If y'all had a chance to read this, it's basically stating our biking routes and stuff and areas in our parish that are pretty dangerous for these bike riders to have to ride on. Most cities have them in a separate lane. Obviously keeping them separated from traffic of vehicles. This letter goes into more detail, but requesting for us to have a better plan for the parish for cyclists and obviously other activities, joggers, things like this, where we have pedestrians commingling with vehicles is not safe. I would like to research and confirm that in part of this master plan for the parish that some of this stuff gets implemented, and mainly to acknowledge this letter that the fella took good time and for good reason to bring it to the surface, and I appreciated him doing that. I would like to see us implementing that into our master plan.
Thank you, Mr. Bogard. Administration, where are we at with the bike trail from the sports complex to the Civic Center? We have a plan in place, don't we?
Yes, I think it's being let out at the end of this year.
That actually,
Phase 1.
yeah, because that trail goes all the way from the sports complex almost all the way to Fletcher.
No, so the multi-use trail, the Valhalla multi-use trail, phase 1 is from Civic Center Boulevard to the trailhead, which is off of Valhalla, that gravel
Correct.
limestone parking lot right
Yeah.
there. That's
Right across-
phase 1.
Across from the sports complex almost.
No. Closer to Summerfield.
Okay.
So that's phase 1. Phase 2 is to go from that trailhead to the entrance to. No? What? Oh, right, because we have the safe routes to public places. Yep, that's right. So it's in 3. Well, why don't you?
Oh, sorry. We both did it at the same time.
Oh.
Okay, so phase 1 goes from the Civic Center to the trailhead. Phase 2 goes from the sports park to Ravensade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then phase 3 is going to go from Ravensade to the trailhead. Phase 3 is not under design. Phase 1, preliminary plans have been submitted to DOTD and they're under review. Phase 2, DOTD has selected an engineer and it's somewhere in design. I'm not positive where. And that's where we're at.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Thibodeau.
Yes, sir. I know Mr. Borgard wanted to, so I'm gonna second his motion to refer this thing to administration and have them report back on the things that he talked about with regards to this man who took his time to write us this letter, and I had forgotten about it, and I appreciate.
I
Yeah,
would like
he
to make a
intended to,
motion
yeah.
to implement it into the
And
the
I'll
comp
second.
plan, to the master plan.
So I have a motion by Mr. Bogard, a second by Mr. Thibodeau. All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
I mean, I meant I wouldn't date.
All right, all right.
Saint started, he's all messed up. Any other commissioner comments?
I have some,
Go ahead.
a comment.
Shoot.
It's Miss Becky's birthday today.
What?
So she's 21.
21.
Oh, having your first beer after this song.
Jack Benny was 39 for about 50 years, so she can be 21.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Becky. Happy birthday to you.
And I'll move it with John.
I have a motion by Mr. Rogers and a second by Mr. Falk. All approved, aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Adjourned. That went as good as it could have went, I guess.
Just in time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.